Welcome to Athar's Garage. In this video, I'll be working on the Kyosho Ultima RB7.5, steps 11 through 14. So let's get started. For the start of the video, I went ahead and popped the seals off the bearings. I cleaned them out and lubricated it with oil. They were grease filled, so I would highly recommend doing that. So let's get these parts off the parts tree and trimmed. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and make the left side. So just take note of the orientation of how it looks in the manual. We're gonna need a few items from this parts tree. We're gonna need the B2 insert, which is here. It'll actually say B2. I think it's this one right here. So let's get that off the parts tree. And there is a little bit of flashing on the outside of this hole, so I'm just gonna go ahead and clean that up so it doesn't cause any binding or anything like that. And we're gonna install it with the hole facing on this side. Make sure you do that. Okay. And I believe that's how the caster is going to be adjusted. There are other inserts. There's a 0 degree insert and a 4 degree insert. The B2 was 2 degrees. So now we need 3 shims or spacers off the same tree. So this parts tree is UB025, and we need a 1/2 millimeter shim. It's a 3x7x1/2. We also need a 3x7x1 and another 3x7x1/2. So these are the shims here that we need. So just take a note. I believe these 4 here are 1 millimeter thick, and these are 1/2 millimeter thick. So go ahead and get them off the parts tree, and then we can continue. So we're gonna get our short ball stud. I believe it's gonna be this black one. And we need the 1/2 millimeter shim. And then we're gonna install it in this hole right here on the top. So now this is ready. Let's go ahead and get our steering knuckle ready. We're gonna install the 2 bearings. They're 5x10x4 on either side. And then since this is gonna be the left side, we're gonna install the ball stud in this orientation here. And we're gonna need 1 3x7x1 millimeter spacer off this parts tree. And we're gonna install the silver colored ball stud in this hole. Now we're gonna need these shims here. We're gonna need 1 of these and then 1 of this conical shim. So we can go ahead and get these off the parts tree. So next we're gonna grab our axle. We're gonna put the 5x7x0.1 spacer on there first. Then we're gonna thread this through. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and clean these threads out, since we're gonna put some Loctite in here. And we're also gonna clean 2 of the M3x6 button head screws. So now we can go ahead and take that axle with that 5x7x1 millimeter shim and put it through. Then we're gonna take this conical spacer, that's 5x7x2 millimeter, and we're going to install it on this end of the axle. So next we're going to take our M3x6 button head screw, apply some Loctite, and then go ahead and install it. Don't put too much so that the Loctite gets into the bearing. I want to over tighten it because you do have those plastic shims on there. So once you feel it kind of snug up, it's good. And that Loctite should hold it in place. All right, next we're going to need the 3x25 millimeter pin, and we're going to install this from the bottom in the C hub, and we're going to install the 0.5 millimeter shim first. Then it's going to go through our steering block, and then we're going to install it through the 1 millimeter shim. It's a bit tight, so I might just see if there's any flashing on the shims that I could clean up. It is a little bit tight, but I think it'll open up after a few packs. I don't want to take too much material off and create additional slop. So next we're going to take an M2x6 by 5 button head screw, and we're going to install it on the bottom, and that's going to help prevent that pin from backing out. There we go. So that's the left side assembly done. I'm going to go ahead and make a mirror copy of this. So that's what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and make a mirror copy real quick, and then we'll continue. All right, so that's it for step 11. Let's move on to step 12. Step 12 is going to be installing these assemblies onto the chassis itself. So we have our right side and our left side, and we're going to need these two shims. They were on parts tree UB022. That same parts tree is the one that was with the arms, so just take note of that. So we're going to get these shims off this parts tree, and then we're going to take the 3x25 millimeter hinge pin, and we're going to install it from the back side of the arm. Then we're going to install one of these shims. The shim is 3x7 by 1 millimeter, and then we're going to install our hub assembly. Then lastly, we're going to install the M2x6 by 5 millimeter button head screw and the hole next to the hinge pin, and that's going to secure the hinge pin in place. So let me go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, and then we can continue. So you can set the chassis aside for now. We're going to create some turnbuckles. So we have our turnbuckles. They're the same size, 3x40 millimeter. And then take note of this little shoulder here. That shoulder is going to indicate a left-hand thread. So just make note that we're going to assemble all the turnbuckles with the left side of the thread on the left side of the car. And Kyosho did a nice job in the manual showing you how they want everything assembled with the orientation of each of the ball cups. So we can grab our ball cups from, I believe this was bag 1. And there's 3 different ball cups on this parts tree, but we're going to use these 2 here and here. And this is kind of a short one, which I think is labeled LL. And then this one here, I believe is labeled 3L. It's not labeled on here, but that's what it's supposed to be. We're going to use the long one on one end and the short one on the other end for the steering and for the front upper rod. So let's get 4 of these off the parts tree and 4 of these off the parts tree, and then trimmed and ready to install. So I'm going to use some chapstick to put on the threads, and that's going to help lubricate the ball cups, and it'll help with adjusting so the ball cups don't pop off the ball studs. So let's go ahead and create the left side steering tie rod. And on the side with the shoulder, which is a left-hand thread, we're going to use the larger of the ball cups. So just take note of that. And then on the right side, we're going to use the short ball cup. And in the manual, it's showing that this ball cup will be, I believe, the steering ball cup. This ball cup's going to face the rear of the car, and this side will face down. So let's go ahead and get that alignment. And we want to have 22.7 millimeters between the ball cups. So I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to install it onto the chassis, and then I'll adjust it to that length. So I know this is my left side steering rod, and I know that my left side is going to be this right here. So I'm going to go ahead and swap that over. So the outside ball cup is going to be larger. So just take note of that. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this on to the chassis. So for the right side steering rod, our left thread will be the short ball cup, and then our right side thread will be the larger ball cup. So just take note of that. And then the left side is going to face the rear of the car, and the right side is going to face down. So let's go ahead and pop this on. All right, so the steering tie rods are installed. Now we can move on to our front upper rods, or camber links. And for the left side ball cup is going to be the large one that's going on the left-hand thread. And then on the right side, the ball cup will be the short one. And the ball cups will face the same direction. And then I'm going to go ahead and pop this on the left side of the car. And that gap is supposed to be 19.2. And the gaps for the steering tie rod, they're supposed to be 22.7. So once they're all on, I'll adjust it real quick, and then we'll talk more about an issue that I've noticed. So for the right side turnbuckle, the left-hand thread will see the short ball cup. Gonna go ahead and pop this on, and then we'll adjust the turnbuckles to the correct length. So the turnbuckles are close to what they're supposed to be. And now let's talk about the issue that I'm seeing. So we're done with this part of the build, steps 11 through 14. And I noticed this when I did the previous step, as there's an issue with the steering system in here. So my servo barely fit, and it was pushing outward on the side rails and this top plate here, so I had to take some material off. I took a dremel and I took some material off over here to make the servo fit a little better. I also moved the servo as far forward as I could, so that way the servo horn would clear this piece here. But now, with everything assembled the way it's supposed to be, when the car is turning left or the servo horn is to the right, it's actually hitting a piece of the plastic support underneath. So I'm gonna have to take this off and probably dremel out that material a bit. So let me go ahead and do that and see if we need to take off any more material. So as you can see, I dremeled some of this material away here and over here, just so that way that servo would fit. Now, the issue I'm having is the ball cup is hitting this support area right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and dremel some of this down, sand it down, so that way it'll clear. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna do it off camera, so I don't wanna get my work area all dirty. All right, so I took a little bit of material off here as best as I could. I didn't want to take too much off, so let's go ahead and install it back on and see if we still have any interference issues. And that was enough. If the steering throws too much, it might hit this bit of material right here and on this side, but it doesn't look like it's hitting. I have it turned basically lock to the right, and there's still probably a 3 or 4 millimeter gap between this ball cup and that side. But when you turn to the left, it seems there might be like 1 millimeter or so, or very close. So I'll keep an eye on it in case I need to take the material off on this right side. But I'll have to do that after I get the car finished and I do my endpoints. I want to make sure that I can get fully lock to lock, which I think I can without having to take that material off. Additionally, I found this servo horn off Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below. It's a 15 millimeter center to center from the holes. It's also aluminum, and it has an offset that works fairly well with this buggy. So I'll put that link in the description below in case you want to get one for yourself. Most of the servo horns are 15.5 millimeters, but this is a 25 tooth 15 millimeter, which is perfect for this buggy. So let me go ahead and put these screws back in and make sure nothing hits. Everything's tightened down and we don't have any clearance issues now. So we can turn lock to lock without any issues. All right, so that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did. Let me know down in the comments if you have any tips or tricks. I'd be grateful for the community. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all the next one.